Hello everyone. We have a game with the black pieces against dichloromethan, rated 1119. We have a Caro-Kann on the board, an advanced Caro-Kann. Okay, good. This is fun. Let's play bishop f5, developing a piece towards the center, and see how white responds. White simply brings the knight out, saying he's just going to develop normally, no big deal. So now we can play e6, closing the pawn chain, trying to get in c5 at some point. So he goes bishop here, offering a trade of the bishops. We've seen something similar in one of our other games, and you can handle this a number of ways. You can pin the knight, you can drop back, you could take, doesn't really matter. But we're going to take, whoa, and he takes with the c pawn, messing up the structure all on his own. That's very kind of him. Okay, that looks so weird. It looks so wrong. Okay, so what do I want to do? I just want to develop. I don't want to do anything too wild. I mean, his bishop doesn't have anywhere to go now. If he tries to go here, I'll just evacuate. I'm just going to develop a minor piece. You could choose a number, like any of them, but I'm going to do this because I figured most players will do this, and I didn't want to put a piece here and allow him to trade. Instead, I wanted to move my queen um, and target stuff and leave his bishop shooting at nothing, and then I'll kick it with h6 next, and he can't trade. So it's just a more annoying way for white to have to play. So he protects the pawn by moving a pawn. You know, moving pieces will improve your position. Moving pawns, not so much. It weakens the dark squares a lot. So now I'm going to kick his bishop. If he does go off for this diagonal, then you can even throw in bishop checks and he can't block with the bishop. He could retreat this way, but instead he goes one square, which stares at his own pawns. I don't like this. We now have the opportunity to kick it again. If he doesn't notice our threat, it's to kick the knight and win the central pawn. So if I go here, he would have to maybe defend the pawn. You could still kick the knight, but then you don't win the pawn, so you don't do it. I guess we could throw this in. It's a safe move. It's not like he's going to really attack our king or anything. We have really good control of the chessboard. So let's go g5, and you see he does immediately go back here, which kind of walks into pawn thrusts. So, but let's immediately cash in on our threat. Because this knight's trapped, it's not going anywhere. His bishop is trapped, it's not going anywhere. His rook is trapped, it's not going anywhere. And his center's collapsing, and it's not going anywhere. Our king is perfectly safe. So he protects the rook by developing the knight, but this undefends the pawn. This pawn is also hanging, but I don't want to take it because that would free up his bishop, and his bishop would look awesome. I don't care. I'm already up a pawn. I'm going to take this pawn, which stops him from castling. Maybe he'll be provoked into a queen trade while I'm up material. For the time being, he goes f3. Wait, what? Okay, I don't know. He goes f3, maybe hoping I take, probably. I'm guessing. We could develop a piece. I mean, there are moves like h5, but a little slow, not moving a piece. There's moves like knight e7, which is nice to look at the light squares, but I kind of want to get my bishop out with speed, right? So for example, here, double hits the knight. I mean, you can't castle anyway through check, but even if you did castle, the knight would hang. And so his position has a lot of pressure. I don't really care about, hanging pawn at any point. It's irrelevant because I could always castle queenside, right? And these pawns here, it's not like I need them to defend my king. I may just open files and attack you. So the knight's pinned. I'm up two pawns for the moment, maybe one. His knight's at the edge of the board. Okay, so he takes this. I could force trades if I want and go into an endgame up material, but that's kind of releasing all of the pressure and the problems that he has to face. So maybe there's just better ways to go about it. His king is in the center. But your pieces are kind of not there. You know? This adds a third attacker to the knight. It's kind of interesting. This hits the rook. When the rook moves, you could then take the pawn, and the bishop's no longer, you don't have to worry about it being strong because you're the one who's covering the diagonal. I like that. Let's do that. It's forcing. He has to move the rook. Putting on the c-file doesn't matter because the pawn's not on c5, it's on c6, and that's just too solid. So now we get to take another pawn, being up 2 pawns total, and recover this diagonal so we don't have to worry about it. And if he takes, well, that just helps our knight get into the action, so we're happy with that too. Especially since his king still can't castle through check. So we're up 2 clean pawns. He has to waste a turn at some point going backwards. And then we'll be able to go forwards. This pawn will hang if he blocks line of sight. He has so many problems in this position. He has no central pawns, right? So these are pass pawns. So any endgame, those are the crazy win conditions. It's just not going to happen for him. So he goes for a queen trade, but I'm up 2 pawns. And like I mentioned, these 2 passers is an extremely strong win condition. I say let's do it. Let's take this, and then we can take a 3rd pawn for the endgame. Extremely overwhelming. You don't want the queens because you don't need them. He hits our knight, so it's probably best if we move it. This takes away the square from our other knight. So let's just go to a different square. Doesn't matter which one you go to. Whether you went here, then you put this guy here, or this guy here and this guy here, as long as you get your pieces out. So he develops a rook and attacks a pawn, which happens to be defended, but you can no longer go knight f6. Fine. We do want to get our knights out as their close quarter combatants. So let's go knight e7. Anywhere he moves his knight, he has to be willing to trade, and we're up 3 pawns. Is my volume on? Yeah. I was recording a video before this, and I was muted, so that was not fun. He moves his rook over into this forkable square once the king moves. We don't even need to castle because it's kind of an endgame, but you could. You could also maybe just go like king d7. But for the time being, I'm going to start with the developing move, rook g8. This pressures the pawn in a way that ties down his knight, which is uncomfortable for him. So he pushes the pawn, but we still got in development of a rook on a semi-open file. Okay, so he pushes the pawn, which is fine. We could break it down and infiltrate, but we don't need to do anything really. Let's just move this knight. I want to move this knight. Let's just get it out of the way. Although, there's a lot of moves I could do. I could do anything. I could do anything. I'm just going to lift my king to the center. I could do anything I want here. There's so many moves. Okay, he moves his king forward, but I don't think that's a good idea for him. It's a good idea for me, but not for him. Okay, so this knight here, he's not doing much of anything. So let's just get rid of him. Which way do we want to take? I still want to take this way. I'll just open this up. He moves his king here, but why are you playing with your king? You have 3 pieces. You need to play with your pieces. Okay, let's analyze that game. We play Caro-Kann. point is to play on the light squares. D5, advanced variation, development and center, center and development. This is a good an equal trade, but that's white's strong attacking piece, and you're getting rid of your liability piece, the piece that gets harassed by knights and by pawns, and the piece you try to get outside the pawn chain. So just once you get rid of it, white can't attack you as easily. He takes with this pawn, which is still an equal game, but looks very weird for a human to play. So we just develop and center. And now we develop for free and center. And now we have free improving move. And now we didn't win anything, but the computer says we're already up a pawn, right? All we have is two pieces out, and somehow we're up a pawn, and it's just because these pieces are going to be locked in garbage by the structure, while we're going to have freedom of movement. So we have a free improving move. You don't need to do this, but you shouldn't be afraid of moves like this when the structure is in your favor. Hard to explain, but G5, attacking the bishop for free, forcing him to find the best move. I keep giving my opponent opportunities to blunder, to make mistakes. And even if he does find the best move, it's stuck here. That pawn's never going anywhere, so it's a weird square. And he immediately blunders and goes to minus 3.2, completely winning because we kick the knight, take the free central pawn, game is over, position collapses. It's that easy. Of course, you have to convert, but that just all that means is you have to continue paying attention. So we take free stuff, and it's minus 3. Well, it was minus 3 here. Once he does this weird pawn move, it's minus 4.6. That's a lot. So we just ignore him. We develop, king, safety, center. And then he goes pawn hunting, which can never be the right thing to do. What does this check do? Check. Oh, he can't block with the queen because he hangs the knight, so he has to move the king and hangs the knight. Oh, that's such an obvious move too. I didn't even, it's right in front of his face, and that's the one move I didn't look at. What did I look at? I looked at this, and there was one other move I said I liked. It was a slower move. Something like, oh yeah, hitting this pawn. I don't remember. Something like that. Either way, it's still minus 4, so it's still completely winning. But yeah, this check is kind of obvious. And then again, you still had to check. But I did this, winning more free stuff, winning the game. Okay, free stuff. He takes, force move. Our position looks amazing. And then we just go for the queen trade because we're up 2 or 3 pawns at this point. So force move. And hopefully this position you can win. Hopefully you can figure out, just bring your knight out, castle one way or the other, or go to d7. So the rooks are connected. Attack any weak pawn while keeping your structure solid. If you trade a bunch of stuff, you can easily just run your pawns up the board. So it's not that difficult. So we just develop a piece towards the center, and then we improve a piece, restricting his development. Improve a piece towards the center, connect the rooks. Improve a piece, because what's this knight doing here? Okay, force move. And then he blunders the game. 95% game, perfect game. Other than I had that queen check, which was a little more accurate, but that doesn't even matter. Hopefully this helps you play the advanced variation. Just know that trading this is always a good thing, is never can be bad for you. It will probably make your game easier and less complicated. So if you don't take away anything else from the game, just take the bishop when you have a position like this in the advance. So that's a little nugget to take away. Trade the bishops and life is easier. Play for c5 and don't lose the game. So good luck in your chess. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.